Hi guys, today we're going to be learning about more early explorers. Now last week, you guys filled out a graphic organizer with some of these explorers already in it. So when I come up to those explorers that you've already learned about, you do not have to write the notes down. But all the other explorers that we have not talked about, you need to write those notes. Remember, this is just tidbits of information about each of these explorers. They have gone on and done way greater things than what I list. But the goal of this is to give you small bits of information so you can get more information when you start to prepare for your wax museum. Remember, the red you stop and write, the yellow is your choice, and the green is breeze right past it. Our first explorer is Leif Ericson, who we have already talked about. He is the son of Eric the Red, and he was a Viking. He wanted to explore lands west of Greenland, and he discovered Newfoundland and modern-day Canada. It is believed that he found the Americas before Christopher Columbus. Therefore, that would make him the first explorer to reach the Americas. Not the first native, but the first explorer. Marco Polo is also an explorer we have already talked about. His goal was to travel on land from Europe to Asia. He found this path and it later became known as the Silk Road because that is the road that they took to get to India. It was a very long road, or a very long time to travel, and it was very expensive. So explorers were trying to find better ways. It was called the Silk Road because they were traveling it to get silk, not because it was made of it. Bartolomeu Dias of Portugal was one of the most important European explorers before Christopher Columbus. He led the first European expedition around the southern tip of Africa. This opened the way for sea trade between Europe and Asia, besides taking the Silk Road. He is also known for naming the Cape of Good Hope. Prince Henry was indeed a prince that came from a royal family. However, he had lots of siblings before him that would have become king or queen. So he decided that since he would never probably actually become king or queen, to become an explorer. He went out and he helped start the trade route in Portugal and founded the Atlantic slave trade. He was responsible for early development of Portuguese exploration and trade with other continents. At that time, Portugal didn't trade with a whole lot of people, so thanks to Prince Henry, he got that started. Francisco Pizarro was an ambitious man. However, he wanted to improve his amount of money in his life. He heard stories of riches in the New World, which would have been the Americas, and wanted to travel there and find his own fortune. In 1532, Pizarro landed on the coast of South America. He established the first Spanish settlement in Peru. Then he found the Inca Empire and took it over from its rulers. A conquistador is a person who conquers. So he went into the Inca Empire and conquered them. Amerigo Vespucci was known for exploring the coast of South America. Now, before the colonies and people started moving to America, the name was actually given a long time before that. America was named after Amerigo Vespucci. He came up with this idea of, hey, you know that land that Christopher Columbus sailed to in 1492? Maybe they're a separate continent from the one that we're living on today. So he set up that idea. They headed that way. They started exploring, and they named it America after Amerigo. John Cabot is another explorer that we briefly talked about before. He made a British claim to the land in Canada, mistaking it for Asia. Vasco de Gama is best known as being the first European to sail from Europe to India around Africa. He led the first expedition that traveled from Europe to India by sailing around Africa. If it wasn't for Bartolomeu Dias, who we talked about earlier, Vasco de Gama's trip would not have been possible. Vasco de Balboa, also known as Vasco Nunez de Balboa, was from Spain. He is known as being the first European explorer to see the Pacific Ocean. He is also known as being beheaded because reportedly another man was jealous of Balboa and had him beheaded for treason in 1519. Juan Ponce de Leon is best known for exploring Florida while he was searching for the Fountain of Youth. He thought that he had found just another island when in fact he had found Florida. He was looking for the Fountain of Youth, which was supposedly a magical fountain, and if anyone drank from it, they would stay young forever, or become young again. Hernando Cortes is another conquistador. He is known for conquering the Aztec Empire. Cortes had returned to a city that he had nearly lost his life and the life of all his men in South America, with a large army of his allies. He laid siege to the city and eventually conquered the city and with it the Aztec Empire. After conquering the Aztecs, Cortes renamed the city to Mexico City. The city became the Spanish capital of territory, which was called at the time New Spain. Up next is Sir Francis Drake. He is best known for being the first Englishman to sail around the world and defeating the Spanish Armada and taking all of their gold. Starting out on his adventure, he had 5 ships, but eventually Drake's fleet was down to a single ship, the Golden Hind. After 3 years of sailing, on September 26 of 1580, the ship arrived back home in England. Drake's expedition was only the second in history to sail around the world. He also brought back lots of treasures for the Queen. The Queen was proud of Francis, and she knighted him, and he was now known as Sir Francis Drake. Samuel de Champlain was a French explorer, and he is known for his incredible map-making skills and establishing and governing the settlements of New France and the city of Quebec, Canada. Henry Hudson is an explorer we had talked about, and he is known for mapping the Hudson River and the Hudson Bay in North America. Hudson sailed to North America and he navigated through a strait and into a large sea, which is now called the Hudson Bay. He was sure that a way to Asia could be found in this sea. However, he never found the way through. His crew began to starve, and Hudson did not treat them well. Finally, the crew fought against Hudson. They put him and a few loyal crew members into a small boat and left them adrift in the bay. They then returned home to England, and Hudson and the small crew that stayed with him, froze to death. Jacques Cartier. He was a French explorer that led the voyage to the New World to seek for gold and other riches, as well as a new route to Asia, which seemed to be the trend. Cartier's 3 expeditions along the St. Lawrence River would later enable the French to claim land that he named Canada. Francisco Coronado is best known for discovering the Grand Canyons in search for the 7 golden cities. He heard reports of the so-called 7 golden cities located in the north, and in 1540 Coronado led a major Spanish expedition up Mexico's western coast and into the region that is now the southwestern United States. Though the explorers found none of the storied treasure, they did discover the Grand Canyon and other major physical landmarks of the region and clashed violently with the local Indians. Hernando De Soto is best known for discovering the Mississippi River. In the early 1530s, he set sail with Francisco Pizarro and his men, and while with Francisco Pizarro's expedition, De Soto helped conquer Peru. And in 1539, he set out for North America, where he discovered the Mississippi River. Captain James Cook is best known for exploring the South Pacific. He discovered and charted New Zealand and the Great Barrier Reef of Australia. The goal of his final journey was to find a northwest passage across North America to Asia. He searched the coast of Alaska to no avail. He did, however, find the Hawaiian Islands, and at first Captain Cook and his men got along very well with the natives of the Hawaiian Islands. However, things went bad when the natives stole a sailboat. Cook tried to kidnap the chief to hold him for ransom for the boat, An attempt, a fight broke out, and he was killed by the natives.